I talk to people almost every day that desperately want to break free from addiction. All right. Pretty much nobody that's really stuck in it likes it. And that's obvious. All right. But one of the conversations that I'm hearing, one of the questions, one of the things I'm hearing brought up more and more and more is people are saying they genuinely want to get well, but they just can't do AA. They don't, the room's in there, they feel like nobody's serious or it doesn't register with them, or fill in the blanks for a lot of reasons. And there's the obvious that somebody who is just coming out of addiction into recovery, some of that might be their own issues, okay? But what I'm seeing is I don't think all of it is their issues, all right? And what I want to say is that AA is not the only way to recovery. It's not the only way, all right? I'll say this, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. AA was huge, extremely important in my early recovery for the first about year and a half. It just helped me immensely. I did the steps, I had a sponsor, all of that. It set a very solid foundation for me. But I also realized this, that constantly subscribing to that way of thinking was going to put a cap on everything I did in my life, all right? One of the things, because I want to have this conversation more and more with people, because there are so many people having questions about it, having problems with it, struggling with it, don't want to go, but they do want to get well. And there's so many people, but the conversation I feel like isn't being had that much. Here's one point that I want to make, all right, as I bring this conversation up more and more. What I see is people more and more just want to push God out of everything. If you study the origin, the beginning, everything that AA was founded on is all about God. Just read how it works. Just read your big book. Just read it. It's all about God. It says we're going to talk about God. All right. AA was almost called the James Gang because they wanted to base everything off of the book of James in the Bible. They were all about the Sermon on the Mount, 1 Corinthians 13, and the book of James. It was all about God. They got those steps from a pastor. They're all from the Bible. Okay, I understand you can't shove God down. You can't force someone into a relationship with God. I don't care how right we think we are or what we've seen God do. You just can't force someone into a relationship with God. God doesn't even do that. I completely understand the need to have wisdom on how to present someone's need to have a relationship with God. But this is one of the biggest struggles I see, because AA actually used to have like a 70-80% success rate in its first decade, 2-3 decades. 80% success rate. Because people came in, they said, we're going to connect you with God and you're going to do the steps. There wasn't a negotiating, letting people who weren't serious hang out. They said, you're coming in, you're going to get clean and sober, and this is how we do it. And people did. Everybody did. Here's the struggle I see that's constantly, because now the success rates are like single digits on a good day. Obviously, there's nothing lower than single digits, but like they're not good. They're not good, okay? We tell people, okay, who have been stuck in addiction and have had drugs and alcohol warp, distort, destroy their mind, their heart, their spiritually, mentally, emotionally, everything. Their perspective towards everything is completely warped and destroyed, and anybody that's gotten clean and sober can relate to that and knows that, okay? But we tell them who come stumbling into AA for help, who I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's tons of people in AA that are awesome. If you're going into AA looking to really get well, you will, because you'll find people in there that are serious about it that can really help you. But I see more and more people just chucking the God thing aside, and then I see less and less people getting clean and sober. All right? We tell people who came in with that thinking, who came wandering, stumbling into AA, we tell them with that thinking that they have, make up whatever God you want. That'll solve your problems. I think we need to put a little bit more thought and emphasis and conversation around that. That warped thinking, that mind, that come wandering in and say, just come up with any higher power that makes sense to you. Nothing makes sense to that person. Nothing made sense to me early on. I was so distorted, confused, hurt, broken, everything. If I just would have made up any God, well, my thinking got me to the worst places on the planet. What's to say that same thinking is going to create a God the way I think God should be created, and that's going to just land me into perfect recovery, all right? I understand people need to go on the journey themselves about who God is, and people grow in that understanding. And you can't force religion on people. I want nothing to do with religion. I'm not religious. I am a follower of Jesus. I have a relationship. Religion disgusts me. Relationship has set me free. And that's what it did for the people in early AA who had incredible success rates and incredible transformations in their life. We're still seeing it today, but there's this massive disconnect of telling people whose thinking is so broken it landed them in hospitals, jails, and institutions, and telling them, make up whatever God you want. It'll fix your life. It's not fixing people's lives, and we need to because my biggest concern is results, period. I want to see people get well. And the people who I see who have the most effective, healthiest, best transformations are the people who connect with God. And we can say whatever we want about that. Well, I don't want the church. I don't want the Bible. I'm not telling you to, okay? But I'm pointing out some very real things. And one of them is that. The people who have the best transformations, the healthiest lives, and get set free in the most beautiful ways from addiction, all of them I've seen have God in their life. So I hope this is a conversation we can have more and more. And I hope that we can even see things where we say, I disagree with that, but I agree with this part. And we can begin to talk about it in a constructive way that brings results and helps set more people free.